Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And hope you're having a great day, great start to your day. And I'll just wait for a few folks to come on here this morning and say hi. Hi, Nick, from our staff. Good to have you on, Nativity. The faithful ones, Margaret, good morning. And John from Elgin, Illinois. Brenda, good morning to you. Mike from Wawa. Mary Jane, happy to have you on with us. And Rosa. Shirley. And Leela. Good morning, Leela. Maria. Carrie from Nebraska. Colleen. Zian. Jordan, good morning, Jordan, from Tennessee. Marlene, we appreciate you guys. Do I tell you that? Do I tell you that enough? Morris, good morning. Wendy, good morning, our dear friend from Markham. Katharina, Nellie, Sherry, and Leela from Verner. We love ya. We love Verner. Zian, Jeanette, Susan, good morning, Susan, from Hollywood, Florida. Appreciate you coming on. Cassandra, Annette, and Maureen. Okay, a couple more, now we'll get going. Micheline and Deb, good morning. Amina and Sharon. Folks, good morning to you. Sandra, Tina from North Carolina mountains. Oh, what a beautiful area that is. Wasilia and another Linda and Leah. Good morning, Leah from Timmins. We appreciate you guys coming on. Bon matin, Chantal. John, how are you? And Annette and another Maria. We got lots. I'm sorry. How are you? Susan. Okay. You know me, I like to and Bernice and Monette, we're going to, I'll never get going if I don't start. Okay. So I'll come on as usual afterwards, say hi to you. We've been, in the last few sessions, we've been talking about the brain. And I promise I'm going to get back to that because I was reading another study about vitamin B12. Man, that's important, that vitamin. And again, it's one that most people are deficient in today. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We'll talk about that as we, probably early next week, we'll do a whole session on B12 and why it's so essential for the body. Again, new study come out on B12 recently that I flagged. I want to talk to you about it. But this morning I want to talk to you about unholy trinities. Unholy trinities, okay? Because I often talk in threes. Okay, if you've read the Reset, you understand that I started the book in, we talked about metabolic syndrome and the whole book is all about that 88% of the population that has some form of metabolic syndrome and they're in trouble. I repeat in the book the Martin Clinic trio, the Unholy Trinity, okay? And Tony Jr. and I, over the years, have developed the seeds of disease, and you don't, and in our, if you look at an overview, we will always tell people, look, you don't wake up sick one day and cancer or cardiovascular or autoimmune or diabetes or even Alzheimer's. None of these things come overnight. Where medicine has, or at least if you look at the history of the last 100 years, 100 years ago, generally, okay, it's not that there was no cardiovascular disease, it's not that there was no cancer, it's not that there was none of these things. There certainly wasn't very much Alzheimer's or dementia, but again, most diseases 100 years ago were based on bacteria or viruses. People got sick with a fever. And this was the way they got sick. They got a bug and they got sick. There was not enough medication. There was no antibiotics and things that saved people's lives. And people generally got sick from viruses and bacteria. Sickness with fever. And then at the Martin Clinic, we sort of came up with a statement, it's sickness without fever. It's inflammation. So when you look at the seeds of disease, inflammation, if you talk to generally people in my profession, okay, natural medicine, they will tell you, well, that inflammation is at the root of disease. Well, we disagree with that. Inflammation is certainly present, and it's not a fever. It's silent. But there's 3 reasons, possibly, that you would get. So we go one step further, and we call it the unholy trinity of disease. And that is, 1, numero uno, number 1 on the hit parade is high circulating insulin. High circulating insulin. 2, leaky gut. 3, free radical damage. Oxidation, aging. That's how people get sick. That's how you get cancer, cardiovascular disease, heart disease, strokes, heart attacks, and you get sick from one of those 3 or all 3. That's at the root of all disease. All disease. Now, are there still bacteria? Yep. Are there still viruses around? Yep. Are they the big killers in society today? Nope. They used to be. Now, we just came through a pandemic. Okay? We've had an 18-month experiment to prove to you, if you're willing to be taught. Okay, you guys know me. I read the Bible. And I've been doing a study on Proverbs, okay? So I really enjoy it. But at the end of the day, you know, if you really want to break down the book of Proverbs, there's 2 things. 1, there's the wise person. I mean, literally, you can break the book down like this. There's the wise, and then there's the fool. Okay, there's more than that to these Proverbs, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm a guy that likes to simplify everything. It's the way I learn. It's you're wise or you're a fool. Now, what's the difference between the 2? What is the overarching principle between a wise person and a fool? Some of you, maybe all of you know this. But if you read something that was written, you know, about 4,000 years ago? Like, it's amazing. But you know what it says? A wise person listens. Linda, they listen to instructions. And a fool, they think they know it all. They're not willing to learn. You know how many times you see that in life? You can't teach them anything. You know, I've sort of almost stopped, I mean it, on Facebook or whatever. I just stopped, you know, I'm getting upset because people, they're not thinking. You can't teach them anything. And so we've seen this in this 18-month experiment, a pandemic that went throughout the world. And hello, people didn't get the memo. They don't want to get the memo. They don't want to get it. Oh, the virus, the virus, the virus, the virus, the virus, the virus, the virus. Wear a mask, wash your hands, do whatever you got to do. Close everything down, shut it down. And you know what, guys? There was, and I've said this to you so many times. I don't apologize for saying it too. I told you the unintended consequences. I'm a grandpa and a great grandpa, and we threw our children under the bus. Scaredy cats. And I was trying to tell people, don't be scared. Be smart. Don't be scared. Be smart. What do you mean, Doc? Well, take care of your immune system. There will always be viruses. I never seen anything like it, where the world just stopped. And today, now you can't talk about it almost. And you know what? They put muzzles on guys like me. And so I'm just telling you that, listen, be instructed. I'm always learning. The day I stop learning, please come and take me away. No, but seriously, you always want, I want to know. I want to know as much as I can know. You give me information. Look, I don't care. Give it to me. I just got an email this morning. Okay. And the person is asking me, it's a good question. Doc, I have an autoimmune disease, MS. I'm on immunosuppressants, trying to suppress her immune system. So she's worried that if you take something like vitamin D or whatever, that's going to increase my immune system. And therefore, maybe I shouldn't be taking that, even probiotics. So I said, well, no, look, your immune system is much more complex than that. Autoimmune, first of all, autoimmune starts in the gut, leaky gut. And I was trying to explain that, no, the reason we get such great results with autoimmune disease because we look at the cause. And even if you're on immune suppressants, your immune system is much more complex than, one part you're suppressing, but you want to make sure your body is firing on all cylinders so that your body is unbelievable. Give it the tools to come back. Amazing what happens. But here we are today, okay? Just coming back now. Here we are today. Guys, we didn't learn the lesson. 18 months. And nobody's talking about your body, the immune system. All they can talk about is the virus, the virus, the virus. And nobody's talking. When studies came out on vitamin D and the virus, they suppressed them. A simple vitamin, Viderma. I told you guys. Is it true? It's 100% true. It's incredible, but it's suppressed because it's not following the narrative. But you guys know better than that. You guys are smarter than that. Don't get duped. Don't be duped. And so the idea is taking care of yourself. And this is why at the Martin Clinic that we talked about the seeds of disease, the unholy trinity. Insulin is food. It's simple. It's not complicated, guys. It really isn't. Insulin is food. If you control food, you have taken a major step. And I don't care what you have. Food makes a difference because insulin was meant to have a part-time job. And in our society today, in the Western world especially, what we have done with food is we have gone crazy with it. They lied and people died. The food industry, I was reading about here, I even wrote them down. The conglomerates that have taken over the world. Where did I write this down here? Okay. 7 major companies. They run about 95% of all the food industry. And they're singing from the same song sheet. Kraft/Heinz. We all know that. Heinz ketchup and Kraft. Well, they merged. All of these things do it. They ate up all the small companies. Not that Heinz was small, but Kraft and Heinz are together. General Mills, that's a cereal company. Unilever. Del Monte. I can't even read my writing. Conagra. Coke and Pepsi. 7 of them. Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola. They run the food industry. So they're not going to tell you. The food industry, folks, is not going to tell you to watch your sugar. That we talked about that poison yesterday. It's worse than cocaine for addiction. You think they don't know that in the food industry? Insulin, and that's in the book, The Reset. I talked about what insulin does. When you have high circulating insulin, you are on the Titanic. You are going to end up in disaster. It's not if, it's when. And so I always, like for me, I'm sure Nick and Jeanette and Brandy, my staff, I appreciate them very much. But they must say, that guy is too simple in their head, right? Because he's always giving the same answer. It doesn't matter what question you ask. I start my answer with food. Tell him to do the reset. Tell him to do the reset. Tell him to do the reset. Why is that? Because I'm trying to start the war you're in with the world. You're in a war, guys. Everything's coming at you. The social media 24/7 are going to say, don't listen to that nonsense. Okay? Save the planet. Don't save yourself. Save the planet. Eat meatless craze. Ooh. No, but it's coming at us from everywhere. The media, the pharmaceutical companies, they're huge, guys. They run the world. If you don't believe that, then why do you think, like, you think there's any money in the vaccines? Do you think there's money in it? Unlimited. I mean, it's unbelievable. And guys, I'm not saying good, bad, or ugly. I'm not saying that. Don't quote me when I didn't say it. All I'm saying is, true or false? Do you think they're making money? These companies? Well, they don't want any dissent. And the thing is, they work together. I'm not even saying they're sitting in boardrooms working together, but it's the way it works because there's so much money involved. Think about it. The food industry, I just talked to you about 7 companies that run the world in terms of food. They're attached at the hip to the social media. The big media, like we're on Facebook to, Twitter and all these things. I mean, they will cancel you if you go against their narrative. And the media, like, what? Can I just tell you something that's bothered me about the media? When I was younger, I thought about being a journalist. I did. I wanted to be a sports journalist, okay, more than anything. A broadcaster and whatever, okay? I got accepted into Ryerson, into broadcasting. Coming out of grade 13, my dad looked at me and said, I'm paying, you're going to be a doctor. And you hear me? My dad, he didn't want it. There were no negotiations with my father, okay? He said, you can do that on the side. Isn't it funny that I ended up being in the media for so many years of my own radio show and stuff like that? My dad, I said, Dad, I'm getting my wish anyways. Oh, boy. Nobody said, no. You ain't doing that for your life. You're not going to do that, okay? But guys, you see it. There's a narrative, and that bothers me because in old-fashioned journalism, journalists were supposed to be skeptics. So when the government said something, they said, you know what, let's find out if that's true or not. I just can't get over today how nobody questions these things. Let's question. Ask me questions. But I'd like to ask politicians questions. I would like to ask the question, what about our immune systems? Is it worth eating right? And I know I'm preaching to you guys, the choir. You guys understand this, but I'm going to tell you something. People don't get it. Most people don't get it. They believe the lies. But you guys know there's an unholy trinity. It's at the root of all disease, guys. It really is. It's at the root of all the big killers. And I use the example of cancer. Now, I know there's complications to my theory, but think about it. Why are we losing the war on cancer? We're losing the war on cancer. Why? Because they're not looking in the right place. I talked to you about Alzheimer's the other day. I'm telling you what's going to come down the pipe is not food. It's going to be medicine. And they're looking at developing a medication for Alzheimer's. It's food, primarily. and leaky gut. Leaky gut, we talked about that. Your microbiome and the connection to your brain. You can actually, there's neuro regenesis. There's actually regeneration of adult brain cells when your microbiome is healthy. And we talked the last few days about how to keep your microbiome healthy. And what makes your microbiome go south? What destroys those bacteria? The ones that are on your side. We talked about that. And guys, as long as you give me a voice, I'm going to keep repeating that. Because the Unholy Trinity is numero uno, insulin. Numero duo, your gut. Leaky gut. Leaky gut, leaky skin. Leaky gut, leaky brain. Leaky gut, leaky lungs. Leaky gut, leaky joints. The gut. And thirdly, oxidative damage. I talk about that a little bit less, but we're sort of built to age and die, right? We're built to age. And you can have all the power of positive thinking as you want, but you're going to age. Believe me. You know, like I said, I'm pushing I'm in my 70th year, and I don't look like I used to. You know, man, oh man, it goes so fast. You know, but guys, this is really important. If you get this, it's a game changer. It is. It's a game changer for you. And I'm aiming at you. I told you my lifelong goal was to teach. And the way I practiced was to teach. I took every individual I saw in my office, every one of them, you know, I figured it out one day, probably hundreds of thousands of people. And you know what I did? I tried to teach them in a very simple way to make some changes in their life. And that it would be for most enormous. The Unholy Trinity. The seeds of disease. You do not wake up one day and you got cancer. It does not operate like that. It takes time, and your body will give you clues. You need to listen to your body because it will talk to you. Okay? I've often shown you the little tip of a ballpoint pen, right? Now I don't even have a pen in front of me. I wanted to show it to you. Oh, here it is. Here's one. A tip of a ballpoint pen. Takes 5 years for that cancer to grow to that size. Do you see it on Facebook, on a podcast? Imagine what I'm showing is a tip of a ballpoint pen. That takes 5 years to get to that. Ladies, do you think you're going to feel a tip of a ballpoint pen, little tumor in your breast tissue? You won't even feel it. And a mammogram won't even pick it up most of the time. But if it grew to that size, it'd been there for 5 years. And one thing, okay, here's another unholy trinity, okay? Here's another. Cancer loves carbs. Cancer loves carbs. And carbs increase your insulin. And insulin is a growth hormone. There you go. What is going to make this grow? Insulin. How do you get insulin? Carbs. Now, you know, just on that statement, you're ahead of 95 to 99% of the population. Someone gets cancer, they don't go backwards. How did they get that? The whole system is to now treat it. Okay? The whole system, not prevention. And we saw that in this experiment of 18 months, in a closed experiment, because the whole world was involved. Nobody talked about preventing it, the virus, but nobody talked about preventing it. They talked about, okay, you got it. Now we got to stop it. But they didn't talk about, let's build our immune system and turn this ship around. Because, my friend, it's coming back in a different form, in a variant. You're going, as long as you're living on planet Earth, you're going to be exposed to viruses and bacteria. You always will be. You always will be. What are you going to do? Live in a bubble? I don't care how many jabs you get. You're always going to be exposed. You need to take your booster shot of Viderma. Take the booster. It's free of charge. Watch your diet. Okay? The Unholy Trinity. Insulin. Leaky gut. Free radical damage. Oxidation. Aging of the body prematurely. Premature aging at the cellular level is very dangerous. And when you think of what cancer looks like, have you ever seen someone that gets cancer? Do they age right in front of you? See, free radicals are taking off like you would not believe. They're like free radicals on steroids. How do you stop that? How do you slow it down? Cancer has to have fuel, folks. That's one thing everybody. That's one thing we all should know. Cancer needs fuel. It's a cell. It needs fuel. It's a teenager. It wants junk. Cancer feeds on junk. It does not feed on steak. So when someone tells you, don't eat red meat for cancer, they don't know, what they're talking about. It's insanity when someone even says it for 1 nanosecond. Don't you believe it? How could the most nutritious food on the planet be any factor at all in cancer? It's craziness. It's junk. They're teenagers. Cancer cells are teenagers, and they're looking for sugar. And if you have a piece of bread, think of it, you're having a piece of sugar. Because it'll turn to sugar rapidly. And kids that are eating cereals and all this and that. And if you do as an adult, oh, I love cereal. Well, okay. You like cancer? Okay. I know I'm getting excited. But guys, I'm telling you, I do these rants because we're being bombarded, guys, by this. It's media. It's everywhere coming at us. And we have got to think. Be that wise person. Be the wise person. Don't be the fool. Be the wise person. I know you are, but I'm just trying to pump your tires a little bit today. Okay? Okay, so tomorrow is question and answer Friday. Okay? Always popular. Send in your questions. Okay? And we'll do our best to answer them. The private Facebook group, we love you guys. Keep it up. Get all your friends and family to join. Have you got a copy of the reset yet? Don't be a fool. Okay. You guys, I appreciate you putting up with me, okay? The Unholy Trinity. I often think in threes. Okay. We'll talk to you soon. Love you guys.